Hello, Gemini. Thank you so much for checking out the channel. We are officially 4 months old. That's crazy. That's insane. Never thought this would happen. Please remember to subscribe, to comment, and to like this video, as well as follow me on Facebook and Instagram at claire.voyant.queen and Twitter at _Claire_voyant. I would greatly appreciate it. Please remember that I read energy in and around you. This could apply to you. Yes, this also could apply to your partner. Take what resonates and leave what does not. Please also check out your other placements, such as your sun, your moon, your rising, and your Venus for more messages and more content. But thank you so much for watching. Hi, Gemini. Welcome to your November 2020 love and relationship reading. Thank you so much for checking out the channel. Let's jump in. Tell me about Gemini. Tell me about Gemini. Tell me about Gemini. Gemini. Tell me about Gemini. 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 Tell me about Gemini for November. November. Tell me about Gemini for November. Gemini, November of 2020. Gemini, November of 2020. Okay. Couple more shuffles. Tell me about Gemini. Gemini. Gemini for November of 2020. Gemini for November. November of 2020, Gemini. Gemini for November of 2020. Okay. Please tell me about Gemini for November of 2020. We have, deception. Someone is wearing a false mask in this relationship. Pardon me. We have very soon. Clearly decide what you want so that it comes to you now. And we have flirt. Extend your lighthearted energy towards others. Okay. Interesting. I'm really getting the impression that you're single and ready to mingle. It feels like you want to get out there. Feels like you want to flirt. I think this is very good energy to have. I think that Spirit is warning you, essentially, to just essentially pay attention to the red flags when they pop up, right? It feels like you're kind of getting out there. Feels like you're flirting, and it feels like you might have multiple options, or it feels like there might be multiple people you're interested in, and it feels like not all of them are good choices. And so to essentially use your intuition to kind of decipher who is wearing a false mask and who is not wearing a false mask. But it does feel very good in terms of, like, your lightheartedness, your playfulness when it comes to kind of, hanging out with I want to say with new people. I know we're in Corona, but I wanted to say new people just now. So this could be someone that's brand new to you, is what it feels like. Let's jump into some spirit animal cards and we'll go from there. Tell me about Gemini. Tell me about Gemini. Gemini. Tell me about Gemini for November of 2020. Gemini. Gemini. For November of 2020. Tell me about Gemini for November of 2020. Tell me about Gemini for November of 2020. Gemini for November of 2020. Gemini. Okay. Please tell me about Gemini. Gemini for November of 2020. Gemini, you are the raccoon. Okay. Your partner is the spider. Ooh, I love that. In your emotional connection, we have the tarantula. So we do have 2 spiders on the board. That's kind of interesting. In terms of the spider being a totem, I mean, I'll obviously read from the book in terms of what spiders represent. However, the fact that we have 2 spiders on the board is pretty interesting. So you might want to look up in your own time what spiders represent, not only from this book, but, just in general, because spiders seem to be a theme here. And then in your physical connection, we have the elephant. Okay. One thing that's also really interesting is that colors usually radiate towards me, especially in these cards. We have lots of blacks, a lot of black backgrounds on these 2. And we also kind of have a black background on the elephant as well. And then over here with the tarantula, right, we have the color black, which feels very prominent. And these warmer colors of red seems to be playing kind of a role in this as well. Let's pull from the book. We're going to read about the raccoon. We're going to read about the spider. And we're going to read about everything. I'd like you to have as much information as you can, and then we will go from there. Okay. Looks like you also have earth energy and fire energy as well. Okay. Let's see, raccoon. Okay, Gemini, you are the raccoon. Talented, shadowy, and hiding. Raccoon energy is at play within all artists to greater or lesser degrees. At best, it indicates talent, tenacity, and skillfulness with a particular musical instrument or creative tool. Its shadow side points to an unresolved issue around self-image and success. Sometimes using a stage name or wearing a mask works in an artist's favor. Other times it limits creativity. Am I who my audience thinks I am? What if I'm ready to grow into something more? Raccoon energy won't let us off the hook until this creative ego fear is resolved. What's also really interesting here is that we have 2 cards of wearing a mask, right? We have the deception card. Someone is wearing a false mask in this relationship. So this could be essentially, if you're going out there, if you're kind of extending yourself, if you're kind of flirting, if you're kind of playing around, right? There might be people that are essentially being deceptive towards you when it comes to having multiple suitors. But right now, this is kind of indicating to me now that you might be the one wearing the mask, which is very interesting. So there might be something that you're uncomfortable discussing, or that you're uncomfortable exposing, that you're trying to kind of hide by wearing a mask. I'm really drawn to just reading this whole thing again. Talented, shadowy, and hiding. Raccoon energy is at play within all artists to greater or lesser degrees. At best, it indicates talent, tenacity, and skillfulness with a particular musical instrument or creative tool. Its shadow side points to an unresolved issue around self-image and success. So this could be something that you have an unresolved issue around your personal self-image when it comes to love and romance, is what it feels like, right? It could be that essentially, it could be an indication of to quote RuPaul, I really don't want to do this, but to quote RuPaul, you can't love yourself. You can't, what does RuPaul say? Literally, RuPaul says it all the fucking time, and now I try to quote it, and I can't even remember it word for word. If you can't love yourself, how the hell are you going to love someone else? There it is. Essentially, it kind of feels almost like that scenario where you need to maybe practice a little bit more self-love, seeing that self-image in a more positive light when it comes to your relationship with love and romance, right? Because when you view yourself in a more positive light, when that self-image is improved, that's when we see real change happening. So I feel like you're almost wearing some sort of mask or almost putting on some sort of performance to people around you when it's not actually authentically you, is what it feels like. Wow, that's interesting. And it feels like you're putting on this mask or putting on this performance because it directly relates to something around your own perception of yourself when it comes to self-image, when it comes to self-love, is what it feels like. I want to keep reading. I want to keep finishing this up. Its shadow side points to an unresolved issue around self-image and success. Sometimes using a stage name or wearing a mask works in an artist's favor. Other times it limits creativity. Am I who my audience thinks I am? What if I'm ready to grow into something more? Raccoon energy won't let us off the hook until this creative ego fear is resolved. Yes, it feels like that's what's going on. Feels like you're wearing a mask, you're putting on a performance that isn't authentically you, and it feels like you're doing so because you have some sort of self-image issue, self-perception issue when it comes to loving yourself to the highest extent. Let's read your partner. We have the spider over here. The spider for me is a big manifestation energy. And when I think of manifestation, I think of the magician. And when I think of the magician, I think of Gemini and I think of Virgo. So that's kind of interesting. Let's see here. The spider. The spider. I really love this. This is one of my favorite cards. Spider, creator of prosperity through life's work, Dharma. The spider is an ingenious creator. Its greatest gift is weaving the thread of Dharma into a vast, intricate web that supports the spider and those around it, both financially and spiritually. It is hard work, but the spider neither tires nor becomes impatient. This card reminds us creativity is everywhere. Be process-oriented rather than results-oriented, and soon your work becomes like the weaving of a magical, priceless tapestry. Abundance follows. Yeah, so I'm really getting the impression that this reading isn't necessarily about you and someone else. This reading feels more so strictly about you, and it feels like you're attempting to manifest essentially new love into your life, new romance into your life. And it feels like, the universe is saying you have the ability to do that. Abundance, what do they say at the very end? They say abundance follows, like abundance is a possibility. However, we really need to tackle how you view yourself and how other people view you. I think this is challenging you to be the most authentic version of yourself. I feel like this reading is challenging you to be true to you, is what it feels like. It feels like you want to manifest love in, that's fine, but first you need to be your most authentic self and stop hiding, is what it feels like. Okay, tarantula and the emotional connection. Let's see. Tarantula. At a crossroad, claiming life's purpose. The tarantula represents a moment when a great decision must be made. It involves prioritizing your life's deeper purpose or dharma. A habit or routine from the past is sidetracking you from your dream, yet a voice inside keeps begging you to refocus your attention. In order to find true happiness, you must choose dharma. Until you do, satisfaction will be fleeting. The tarantula hovers patient and calm like an old friend that knows your inner soul. It already knows you'll choose wisely. Interesting that they said old friend. I feel like earlier I was picking up on newer energies, picking up on essentially almost like new people that you might meet. But this person that's coming in for you could be an old friend or an old flame, something along that line. I do think this is a very interesting card. It really talks about a decision, right? A lot of this reading is essentially not about the end result. Have you noticed that? Like, for instance, the fact that I'm not picking up on an additional energy, I'm picking up on your energy and your energy alone, right? This doesn't feel like I'm reading for two people. It feels like I'm reading for one person. That feels like almost like a process-oriented thing. If I was picking up on two energies and two people, that would feel like a results-oriented thing, right? And so it feels like there's something that you need to tackle about yourself and your own self-perception. And once you tackle that, you begin to manifest beautiful, beautiful love in. But until you do, like until you start to tackle that, what you want will not actually come in. And I feel like this tarantula energy is really trying to push you to do so, right? It feels like the tarantula talks about making a decision, right? Prioritizing dharma, right? Doing something that's a little bit harder, a little bit more challenging versus something that's a little bit like easier or more comfortable, right? It feels like they're trying to get you to step out of your box and become your most authentic self. And once we do that, then we can actually do the work of manifesting someone in that could potentially be an old friend, is like what it kind of felt like from the book. But I do think that's very interesting. I do think that's interesting. Yeah, this feels heavy, heavy, heavy about like personal transformation. Let's read the Elephant. One of my favorite cards. Again, I feel like I always say this is one of my favorite cards. However, I just love this deck so much. The Elephant. This is in your physical connection. The Elephant. Unstoppable, auspicious, and wise. The elephant is arguably the most auspicious figure in the deck. Like Ganesh, the elephant represents immense wisdom, as well as good fortune. It is said that the great elephant is the destroyer of obstacles, so if this card appears when you feel stuck, rest assured the path will soon become clear. To add to the mystery, the elephant is also known to create obstacles in order to steer us in the right direction. Trust this gentle and noble creature. It illuminates the way with the light of self-knowledge. Self-knowledge seems to be a big theme here. Self-image, self-knowledge, pardon me. But essentially having that mental spark, that mental clarity to kind of, really challenging you to be the best version of yourself. Let's pull some tarot. We'll clarify what's on the board, and then we will wrap it up. Tell me about Gemini. Tell me about Gemini. Tell me about Gemini. Gemini for November of 2020. Tell me about Gemini. Gemini for November of 2020. Okay, a couple more shuffles. Tell me about Gemini. Gemini for November of 2020. Okay, Gemini, in your current position, Gemini's current position, we have the 10 of Cups in reverse. In your partner's current position, in Gemini's partner's current position, we have the 8 of Rods in reverse. Okay. In your past connection, we have the 3 of Cups. In your present connection, we have the 4 of Pentacles. And in your future connection, the 9 of Swords in reverse. 9 of Swords has popped up so many times. I gotta be honest, I think it's probably popped up 5 to 6 times in this month's readings. I can't even begin to tell you where it's popped up, like specifically, but it just keeps coming up. which is pretty crazy. This is really interesting. This 10 of Cups in reverse, right? 10 of Cups upright really talks about 100% emotional fulfillment, emotional like contentment, right? It's, you know, a couple with their children and they're playing and they're joyous and they're happy. There's a rainbow, right? They have everything that their heart desires, everything that their heart needs. And obviously, when it's in reverse, it's kind of indicating essentially that we aren't feeling emotionally fulfilled. It is some sort of completion, it is some sort of ending. But that ending is essentially not emotionally fulfilling. What's really interesting here is that I kind of want to talk about, I want to like, when that card came up, I immediately went back to what it was talking about with the tarantula, right? It says this, in order to find true happiness, right, your 10 of Cups, in order to find true happiness, your 10 of Cups, you must choose Dharma. Until you do, satisfaction will be fleeting. This is satisfaction that's fleeting. This is true happiness, right? So as of right now, it's looking like satisfaction is fleeting for you. And I feel like satisfaction is fleeting for you is because you're wearing a false mask. You're not who people think you are. You're right. You are not what you're putting on, is what it feels like. This feels like a challenge to essentially be the most authentic version of yourself and to really kind of understand self-love, right? Understand self-love and your own, and hone into your own like beautiful perception of yourself, which is really wild. Over here then, in your partner's current position, we have the 8 of Rods in reverse, right? 8 of Rods upright really talks about all of these rods flying through the air. It's a card of action, right? It's a card of movement. It's a card of momentum. It's a card of progress, getting things done, right? Also a card of communication too. But with these 8 of Rods in reverse, essentially gravity is going to allow all of those rods to fall. All of them are going to fall, right? And because they're all falling, essentially, there's going to be no movement, no progress, no progression, right? So it feels like, especially with the spider here, and with this kind of concept of manifesting what we want to see in our love life, manifesting what we want to see, you know, in our romantic life, it feels like there's little to no movement or progression in that field because it feels like something needs to be done first. And again, I keep reiterating this, it feels like an issue around self-image. It feels like you're wearing a mask to essentially hide a part of yourself that you're not comfortable acknowledging and that you're not comfortable expressing. And once we actually acknowledge and we express that, that's when we have the ability to manifest and to move forward and to see progress, right? Feels like you almost like, this is making me frustrated is what it's making me. It's because I feel like you know this. I feel like you know this, Gemini. And you like don't want to acknowledge it. It's almost like if you're driving in a car and you're driving down a road and you just keep like blowing stop signs is what it feels like to me. It's like stop signs are like there for a reason. They're there to get you to stop and to think, right? And it feels like you're not stopping and thinking. It just feels like you're like, I need to keep going. I need to keep going. I need to keep going. Like, I need to keep like hiding like the most authentic version of me. Like, I need to keep hiding the most authentic version of me. And you're not actually getting anywhere. Like, you're not actually going anywhere, but you think you're going somewhere, but you're not actually doing it because you're not actually doing the work, right? This is why I'm getting frustrated. You might be getting frustrated at yourself too. Over here in your past connection, we have the Three of Cups, right? Which is a card about friends and family and socializing and getting out there and dating, right? And flirting, right? We have the card of the Three of Cups and we have the card flirt, right? Extend your lighthearted energy towards others. It feels like in the past you were extending your lighthearted energy towards others. This also, to me, feels like you're also presently doing it as well. It feels like, even though this came up in the past connection, it feels like something that you're actively doing now, which is really good to see. It's really good to see that. And also, this might be advice to like allow your friends and family to kind of help you. Like, you know, allow your friends and family to say, well, you know what, like sometimes when you interact with people, it's like how you're interacting that like they're not actually like seeing you for you, right? I feel like that's kind of coming through for some of you, where like your friends and family can actually help you through this problem. In your present connection, we have the Four of Pentacles upright, right? Which really talks about greed, right? Look how tightly he's holding onto this pentacle. Look how like he's sitting on these two pentacles. Like he almost like, if pentacles represent security and stability and finances and money, right? He's holding on to security and stability. And there's this whole city behind him that like could benefit from those pentacles, right? Essentially, this is a card of like greed, right? And this almost feels to me like you're almost holding on to something, like you're really holding on to something that makes you feel stable, that makes you feel secure. But in reality, it's not actually doing too much for you, right? It's only harming you. It's not benefiting you. This feels like you kind of like holding on to this side of yourself that really wants to shine, that really wants to be like brought to light. And then last but not least, we have the Nine of Swords in reverse. Nine of Swords can really indicate it's a card of dreams, right? It's a card of nightmares. It's a card of sleepless nights. It's a card of mental anxiety and depression, right? And they're kind of waking up in the middle of the night because they have all of these nine swords on their mind, right? It's a card of like, God, I'm hearing like being like mentally stabbed, almost like mentally stabbed in the brain. And when it's in reverse, essentially, like, you know, it seems like there was some sort of like mentally taxing situation that you might have experienced or that you are currently experiencing, but it feels like you're kind of healing from it. It feels like you're kind of like growing from it, right? So that I really do like that outcome, right? It does feel like you're kind of beginning to acknowledge something that needs to change, and you're kind of healing from something that needs to change. But there's still a lot of work to go. There's still a lot of work to do, right? And the elephant is really here to guide you through that process, right? They're going to create obstacles for you, and they're also going to destroy obstacles for you because they want you to be the best version of yourself. But Gemini, thank you so much for checking out your November 2020 reading, and I will see you in December. Adios.